4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about trauma healing and a novel take on the origins of panic attacks and anxiety attacks. This is going to build off of The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk and Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine, or the Somatic Experiencing Somatic Bodywork framework for trauma healing. Trauma exists and stays in an individual because it is the incompletion, it is the lack of completion of an energetic cycle in the body. It has nothing to do with concepts, memories, ideas, beliefs, values. Okay? This is a super important point. You do not need to understand conceptually what caused your trauma in order to heal it, to no longer have it, and also no longer be affected by similar situations or the exact situation of the one that caused it. This is a really significant point. It is the lack of completion of an energetic process in the body. So let's explore this with the classic fight or flight argument. First of all, this thing is entirely incomplete. It is not a binary choice. It is also not only two choices. Nowadays, it's about 4. I'm going to go with 3, and they come in a sequence. So we have freeze, fight, flight, and fawn. Fawn is like submissiveness when a dog opens its belly, or playing dead, something like that. I'm not going to include fawning here. I'm going to include freeze, flight, and fight in that sequence because that is the sequence that you as a human animal take when confronted with challenges. If you're ever walking in the woods or it's getting dark somewhere and you hear a twig crack, what do? You stop, you investigate, you look for signs of threat, you freeze. Freezing is the first response. If you determine, or your body determines, that there is cause for further concern beyond that point, that you are being confronted with a threat, you will then go into fleeing or flight. You will try to run away from it first because human animals are not geared for combat, physical combat, fighting to save your life. So if you can, you will run away from it. Only when you have determined that you cannot, that there is a threat, so freezing's not good enough, and you can't run away from it, only then will you gear up to fight. Now, once you've gone past the freezing point and your body recognizes that you're about to have to do something, your body will dump adrenaline into your system and a lot of other stress hormones like cortisol so that you have stamina, vitality, endurance, raw strength, reaction time, so that you can either run and escape or you can fight directly and fight for your life. This came from when humans had physical threat of bodily harm or death from being a prey animal that evolved amongst the wild. We do not have the majority of those concerns anymore. However, your body will still react to highly stressful experiences, such as being spoken down to by your boss, being embarrassed in public. Yes, instances of physical harm like being bullied, being pushed around, car accidents, things like that. If you do not give your body, because it's actually not being threatened, but it's having the threat response of dumping adrenaline into your system, if you do not give your body the opportunity to complete that cycle and to dump the adrenaline, that unprocessed adrenaline lodges itself in your system, in your nervous system, and stores itself as trauma. And you can be re-triggered, and your body will actually seek out similar situations as the original cause so that it might end up completing that process in the end, dumping the associated adrenaline with it. However, we, as a modern culture right now, never complete that process. Because people view it as a sign of weakness. There's a lot of reason people avoid revisiting those uncomfortable circumstances and memories and completing the energetic process of dumping the associated adrenaline, and so they stay traumatized for far longer than they should. There is no other animal in existence that has long-term trauma, at least on the level that humans do, right? So if you were, an easy example of this is if you were an antelope in the savannah, right? You're just minding your own business and suddenly a cheetah or a lion or whatever starts chasing you. An immediate adrenaline spike takes over. They run because they don't fight at all. They only flee. And once it's determined that they've gotten to a point of safety, and you can find these videos online, what they do is they shake. They shake violently to dump the adrenaline that's in their system. And within a few minutes of forceful shaking, they've returned completely back to a homeostatic state of just normal waking reality. They've closed the circuit. They've closed the adrenaline traumatic circuit so that, they're not traumatized. There was a threat. They dealt with the threat. They took care of the body and the nervous system response to that threat, and now they're back at normal baseline. We never complete the dumping process, and this is why so many people are traumatized. This is why so many people are triggered. This is actually also why you keep finding yourselves in situations that you don't like. Your body is trying to go back to a similar set of circumstances so that it can understand that it's no longer in threat and close the energetic process. And so these are actually called neurogenic tremors. This act of shaking. And this is also what I'm going to tie into panic attacks in a minute as well. But this is a really important point. You do not need to understand what caused the trauma. You just need to complete the energetic process and adrenaline dump associated with it. Okay? There are a lot of ways you can do that. You can do yoga, you can do body work, you can do the somatic experiencing techniques, you can do shamanic visualization and journeying, you can do entheogenic ceremonies. There are a lot of ways, like purging, there are a lot of ways that you can complete the energetic cycle, but you have to be focused on completing the energetic cycle. It's not some cognitive understanding of, oh yes, I see that this person did this or this situation happened and that affected me and now I'm scared of that happening again. That level of understanding, it doesn't matter how well you know what caused this. Until you complete the energetic cycle, you will be forever burdened and forever a prisoner to that set of circumstances and to the trauma that still lingers in your nervous system. So the focus needs to be on body-based somatic experiencing techniques to dump and resolve trauma. Awesome. Now let's loop this into panic attacks and anxiety attacks. If you've never had a panic attack, they are incredibly frightening. Shortness of breath, involuntary shaking. And honestly, you know what it looks like? It looks a lot like a neurogenic tremor. It looks a lot like the body attempting to dump an overflow of adrenaline from its system. And so the way this is my own theory, also my own personal experience. I had panic attacks growing up. I had a lot of anxiety, I had a lot of trauma, and I think this theory holds quite well. If you take an empty cup and you start filling it up with water, eventually it will get to the point where it overflows and water starts pouring over the sides. If you were the empty cup and you started filling yourself up with traumatic experiences, there would get to a point where your nervous system is no longer able to contain or steward the amount of adrenaline, unresolved adrenaline and anxiety in your system, that it starts overflowing into involuntary outbursts of neurogenic tremors to release that. And so this is why you find yourself in completely random situations, right? Like you're presenting or you're at home or you're driving and you have a panic attack because your body is just completely unwilling and unable to handle the amount of anxiety and traumatic adrenaline still within you. So this is why you need regular practices at varying levels of intensity. You need almost a pedagogical progression of traumatic release experiences. Things like exercise, things like walking, movement techniques are great, like yoga, meditation, great ways on a daily basis to do some of this. You can also schedule this out into more intense experiences that come something like monthly, like longer breath work journeys, somatic experiencing techniques, body work, massage. All of these techniques are ways that you can make sure that you're emptying out your vessel, right? So that you aren't overflowing and your panic attacks will go away. Another way of saying this is, again, you will never actually resolve your trauma solely through talk therapy. You might have a conceptual understanding of it, but that's not the driver of the deep gnawing anxiety and trauma within you. It is the incompleteness, it is the incomplete energetic process that your human animal, your nervous system needs to go through in order to complete this stuff. So if you want to resolve your trauma, you need to get into the body. You need to get into the body, walk directly towards the memories, the uncomfortable things, the triggers that bring you up. Walk boldly towards them so that your body can do exactly what it knows how to do for millions of years of evolution as a prey animal, to resolve the trauma on an energetic and nervous system level. I think that's a good place to start. It's incredibly important work, it's incredibly challenging work, but you will experience on the other side of this deeper levels of peace, contentment, satisfaction. Your hypervigilance will be gone, your gnawing anxiety will be gone. You will stop looking around for new opportunities at every freaking moment. You will stop repeating situations, contexts, and relationships that no longer serve you, because you have resolved the thing and your body no longer needs to get itself into the circumstances that maybe give it an opportunity to resolve it itself. Be your best friend, be on the side of your body and nervous system, cultivate practices and techniques within yourself that help complete this energetic process. And you will be deeply, deeply calm as a result. And you'll be able to thank yourself for doing this. So that is a take on trauma healing and the origins of panic attacks and anxiety.